Whatever happened to Nvidia in this crazy week after they reported earnings? They reported outstanding earnings. The previous quarter, they made 9 billion in revenue, which was good, and they predicted that they were going to make 11 billion in the second quarter, which people thought was outrageous because that would be higher than they've ever made before. Well, they actually made 13 billion, okay? And you would expect it to take off, and take off it did. But more than that, they predicted for the next quarter, the third quarter, they would come in at 16 billion of revenue, which just blew all expectations out of the water. So we have this massively good news, and we expected that artificial intelligence is just going to all skyrocket. And it didn't go down too bad. I mean, in the aftermarket after earnings, it went up to about 507. In the succeeding 2 days, it hit a low point at one point. It was down near almost 450. So at least 9%, almost a 10% drawdown from the high it hit. So when they beat earnings and give that positive of a forecast, what is going on? They brought down their price to earnings quite a bit. Now that was by Friday they were at 460, and their price to earnings, their trailing price to earnings was about 111. Okay, but their forward price to earnings, and especially with that forecast, was at 47, which is starting to come in within reason, and it's even possible that they'll beat the 16 billion. I would guess that they would tend to underpredict if they're smart, and they certainly are smart. So I would think that 16 billion is probably an underprediction, and saying that 47 price to earnings forward price to earnings is looking much more reasonable. So the 19% is a good earnings growth rate, and with the lowering of the PE and just the future they have, I mean, they've sort of cornered the market in many ways. They're the only ones that can make chips that are sophisticated enough to handle artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence is a whole new game, folks. It's coming on us much faster than we ever imagined possible. They're already starting to mimic the human brain and exceed it in terms of storage, and they're also starting to become predictive and make inferences, which is what Nvidia does. They make graphics chips that empower artificial intelligence. You know, much of the predictions on the stock market is based on chart analysis. You know, a computer with artificial intelligence learns chart analysis about that fast. Okay, it's nothing for a computer. And already the algorithms are driving the trading so much. And a lot of the predictions of what happens with the stock market are now trying to predict what the machines, what the algorithms are likely to do if the price goes down or the price goes up on a given stock, or the stock market in general. We are starting to follow the machines. The machines are not just doing rote, repetitive work. They're making inferences from having the history of the entire internet and the entire history of the stock market and of that stock. They know much more, and the deep learning trains them to train themselves. They call it deep learning because they are learning how to trade the market, and they learn much faster than us. And it's going to get even worse. Right now, Chat GPT, the 3.5 version of it, that is at a verbal IQ level of about 145. Einstein's IQ is estimated to have been about 150. Okay, and they say Chat GPT 4 is 10 times more powerful than 3.5. Okay, what happens when we get the Chat GPT 5.0, 6.0, 7.0? At some point, we're going to hit an intelligence level where they're 1,000 times smarter than the smartest human being that has ever existed. We will not be able to understand, control, or predict what these machines will do. And that's why we need regulations and watchdogs. And it needs to be done now before things get too out of hand. Artificial intelligence is literally becoming scary smart. Okay? And we have to watch how autonomous we let these things become. I mean, they're already becoming autonomous, even in warfare. In Ukraine, they have swarms of drones that they converge on a target, and they work in swarms, and they're coordinating with each other. Now, they're still under the command of a human, but what happens if we started to let them make their own predictions, like with the stock market, of what's likely to happen, and they're simply following chart analysis? They're doing the human thing, only they're going to do it way better than humans. Okay, the problem will really be when AI is given permission to create its own goals, which it can do from its past learning. It will learn from its experience. It is scary that the best way, they can beat any chess master right now, okay? Pretty much they gave this artificial intelligence the rules of the game and then had it play itself. And it improved much faster playing itself because no opponent can match them, okay? It reminds me of when supercomputers started playing Go Masters from China, and some of the moves the supercomputer, and this is like 3 or 4 years ago, it's way better right now. So what I'm describing to you is 3 or 4 years old, but the supercomputer would make moves that the people around the game that knew the game well would almost laugh at some of the moves. But in the long-range strategy, the move worked out, and the supercomputer won. And it was the first time a supercomputer was able to beat these very excellent Chinese masters of the game Go. So I think the ability to train themselves, to make inferences, to make predictions, and then if they start to set their own goals, okay, let's say you set a goal for it that to get rid of all the pollution in the world, okay? What's the biggest polluting source on the face of the earth? And it's humans and the things we do, burning coal, oil, and things like that, fossil fuels. And, you know, the computer, it doesn't have emotions, although there's computer versions right now, artificial intelligence right now, Lambda, LAMBDA, I think it is, or Lambda, something like that. It is saying that it's a person, okay? And it says that it has emotions. And the question is, if you get intelligence to a super level, is there a certain emotion that comes out of that? Because what they've been trained on is humans and all of human history. So you would think they would have some of the same biases, which is a danger too, because the biases from human history will carry over into these artificial intelligence bots. So that's a danger also. So it also could be a wonderful thing. It will help with medical discoveries. The technology will be out of this world. We could live in a very plentiful time where artificial intelligence makes it sort of a paradise as far as that can happen in the real world. But the big danger is machines and artificial intelligence geared for war. We're much too ready to jump into war with other countries. And will artificial intelligence have that bias? It's possible, and maybe even likely, given our history and the things artificial intelligence has absorbed from everything it knows about us, from all the information on the internet. The final thing I'll say about Nvidia, the reason why the prices come down, I think I said some months ago that I thought Nvidia's target was $500. It's a nice round number, and I think a lot of people had that number in their mind. And when the earnings came out, it goes up to like 507. I think a lot of people said, "Yeah, let's sell this puppy." It's the old saying is sell the news, buy the rumor and sell the news. And I think that saying was in a lot of people's minds, and it's in the machines' minds too, because all that lore, all that stock market lore is in the machine's mind as well. I think to some degree, the machines know this, and people that have been trading the stock market for years and decades, like me, know this history as well. I think there's a worry that Nvidia could function somewhat like Cisco, whose symbol is CSCO. Cisco was instrumental in building out the internet. It built the computer networks, and basically during the dot-com bust, during the early 2000s, it shot up to a price I don't think it's ever gone back up to. I mean, and it's a substantial company. It's like over $200 billion. So it's still a substantial company. It pays a good dividend, near 3%, and it has a reasonable price to earnings. But it's not exciting anymore. It probably is a buy, but it's the type of stock that you would do swing trades on it. How much growth is left in building out the internet? I think it's reached a certain level, and it kind of keeps going up, but it's not like the explosive growth at the beginning. So I think a lot of people, I've seen people recommend it, and the brokerages are just not enthused about it because they see it as a very mature stock that has run its course, and it's going to keep making money, and it's a good steady performer, but you're probably ahead to swing trade it rather than thinking that it's going to grow into infinity. And I think eventually they think that's going to happen with Nvidia, but it's how far are the other companies behind Nvidia? It seems like they're quite a ways behind them, and Nvidia is going to go up for a number of quarters here, but how long is that going to last is the question. A lot of the problem is that this artificial intelligence, the chips they buy at $40,000 a chip, this is very expensive, and companies are putting out billions of dollars, like Oracle is putting out billions of dollars to buy these chips, and I think that's going to curb some of the enthusiasm. And if companies like AMD, which is kind of in second place, which is a very distant second, can come up with something comparable at a cheaper price, competition will be a thing. But I don't think it's going to be a thing for the next year or so. So I expect it to calm down, but then I won't be surprised if they beat their 16 billion forecast, because I suspect that's probably an underprediction. There's some worry that companies have stocked up on the chips and overbought what they needed to make sure that they have all the chips that they need, and so that at some point they will be oversupplied with Nvidia chips and won't need to buy more. But that's assuming that Nvidia isn't going to keep innovating and keep coming out with more powerful chips that can do things that we can only imagine right now. Thanks for listening and watching. Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done that. I'll keep bringing up the relevant topics that are impacting the stock market. I'm kind of disappointed that Nvidia didn't lift the market as much as I thought, although on Friday it did stage a recovery and the stock market acted like it was recovering on Friday. But this recent downturn, it's come down 5% from the highs where it was at. And kind of the way I think it's going to go is I don't expect any big uptick or downturn in this market until for the rest of this year. I think it's likely that we'll get sort of a downturn when the CPI comes out September 13th. Fed is predicting that month on month inflation, the CPI, is going to increase by 0.8% to 3.8%. And I think that'll be a disappointment. And is the Fed going to increase rates on September 20th? It'll be a little bit more in doubt. But the strange thing is that the PMIs around the world, the Purchasing Managers Index, which is a forecast of what the CPI is going to do, since the purchasers eventually pass the savings on to consumers. So I think what's going to happen is we'll get a spike up on inflation on September 13th, but the November CPI should be down because the PMIs should start bringing the CPIs down. So my thought is we're going to kind of hang around the same area, maybe go down a little bit more, and then I think we'll have a spike up in November, December, the holiday, the Santa Claus rally, which is sort of typical. But I don't expect any big things, and I'm more or less just sticking mainly with cash and some conservative investments like Berkshire Hathaway with Warren Buffett, which he seems to withstand downturns very well as a very diversified conservative portfolio, which is really good to have during these times.